If you're trying to figure out the best ways to create LinkedIn matched audiences so you can target more people who are likely to be your ideal customer, switching to my screen in 3, 2, 1. So here we are inside of LinkedIn matched audiences, and if you've used Facebook ads, you're kind of familiar with this already because it's very similar to Facebook ads custom audiences. And to create your first matched audience, you're gonna go over and click on create an audience over here, and you can decide what kind of audience you want to create. So for example, if I wanted to upload a list of people, I would click on the list item right here, and then you can see there's some best practices on the right. Rule of thumb is have at least 1,000 people in your spreadsheet, that was a horrible 0, before uploading it to here, because this will give you a more high quality list, because LinkedIn cannot match everybody, right? And you want to give it enough sample data so it can draw conclusions of what are the commonalities amongst these people. And within this list, there's actually 2 different types. You have company and you have contact list. So if you want a list of companies, you can go ahead and upload the LinkedIn URL, the company name, things like that. But most likely you're going to be using the contact list option. So this one is actually it's actually 10,000 minimum contacts. And that is a huge number if you don't have that many leads. To be honest, it's not required. It just helps a lot if you have 10,000 leads. And then before you actually upload your list, I highly recommend downloading one of the 2 templates, depending on if it's a company or contact list. And here's what those 2 templates look like. So the contact list, you need to have at least one of the following: the email, the first name, last name, or the Google ID. Now that's just the minimum. The more information you can provide, this will increase your matched audience percentage, which you always want to aim for, a higher matched audience percentages, so you can take more advantage of that list. So if you have the job title, you have the company they're employed at, and you have the country, that helps increase that rate. For the company list, you can include the company name, the company website, and the company page URL, and that should be sufficient. But then go and upload that list right away, name it matched audience or whatever you want to call it. Populate that spreadsheet, drag and drop it here, and upload the list. It does take a little bit to get the match rate up, so just do it a day in advance so you make sure you have it by the next day or the day after. And that's basically it. So now you can start to target these people in that list. LinkedIn will tell you how many are available of the ones you uploaded. So the second type of matched audience you want to create is actually the retargeting audiences. And the really cool new one is the retargeting by video. And I'll talk about that in a second. But you can retarget by lead gen forms, so people who have opened up or opted into your lead gen forms on LinkedIn. You can target by video, so people have watched a certain percentage of your video. Or you can target by website visitors, people who have visited your website or went to certain pages on your website. And each of these are pretty straightforward, but I'll show you an example just in case. So same thing as before, name your audience, and then you can choose how do they engage. So typically have anyone that's opened up your lead gen form, include submits, and people who have opted in on your lead gen form. You can select the campaigns this applies to. Very straightforward stuff. Click submit and you're good to go. Now if we go on to the video audience, same thing here, but now we can choose how do they engage. And this is a newer targeting option. They should have had it a long time ago, but I'm really glad they added it recently, where we can actually retarget people who've watched a certain percentage of your video ad. So same thing here, very straightforward. Name your audience and then choose how they engage. I typically like 50% in the video ad. 75% is a little too restrictive, especially for a cold audience you want to retarget. And 25% is a little bit too little, especially if it's a short video and it's only a matter of seconds. So what you can do is you can choose like what percentage of the video they engage with, and then you can go ahead and change the time range and then select the campaigns that apply to. Just quick note, whenever you select all, it doesn't actually select all your campaigns. You have to go page by page and click the select all button, just how it works. But you want to make sure you get, if you want to target everyone that's engaged with your videos, select all your campaigns page by page. And the last one is website visitors, which is really straightforward. Again, if you want to retarget people who've hit your landing page, for example, put that URL in here that starts with this, or if you want an exact thank you page, you can put contains, or if it has to equal this, you can add or rules. It's very straightforward. I typically go with starts with, just so that no UTMs or anything like that throw it off. And that's great for retargeting people who hit the sales page, pricing page if you have a SaaS and things like that. And then finally, we have the lookalike audiences. Now these lookalikes are not as good as Facebook ads lookalikes, so just err on the side of caution and increase the audiences you can add to them. So basically, try to get a bigger list before you make these lookalike audiences. You don't want to, put in 500 people like you can with Facebook and get away with that sometimes. You want to typically have like thousands before you go after lookalike audiences. And these basically consist of the list we just created before. So if we wanted to create a lookalike audience of people who watched a video for 75%, and we have 5,000 people in that list or more, you can go ahead and click create an audience, name it here, and then you're good to go. And again, I wouldn't lean too heavily on these without a good enough sample data, because it's still not as advanced as Facebook yet. So now that we've created these audiences, how do we actually use them in campaigns? campaigns and make sure that we're going after really high quality prospects while keeping our CPMs low. So I'm just going to create a new campaign and I'm going to go after lead generation. I want people to opt into my lead gen form. And what I'm going to do is you can actually include the audiences we just built. If you go underneath who's your target audience, you can select the audiences you built. So I can choose the ones that we just made. So for example, I'm going to go after some people who are 25% viewers on some campaigns we launched, and you can go and click that. Then it gives you an idea of like who you can target, what's going to cost you, things like that. But if you want to make it even more narrowed, because a lot of people just target these big broad audiences, especially with lookalike, and expect a lot of dollars to come back to them, you might actually need to exclude some people or narrow the audience a little bit further. So that's what I typically like to do, especially if I'm casting a wide net. So one of the things I like to do is also narrow down by company size. So if I'm going after 11 to 50 employees, then I'll make that as its own campaign group. But instead of just targeting all these viewers, I am targeting them down on a more granular level, because say that first campaign, I could have been targeting a lot of people, the company size could have been mixed, but now I'm only going after people of those viewers who are also within this company size. And congratulations, that's it. That's how you create LinkedIn matched audiences. If you have any questions at all when it comes to LinkedIn ads, please leave a comment. I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm Louis Mudrich, and thanks so much for watching this video. See you next time.